Hi, I'm Lesley Canarium, Reader Conversations Librarian at the Rogers Public Library, and I'm here with our project, our Take It, Make It project for April, which is a springtime blossoming tree. Really simple project, but one that I hope you have a lot of fun with and maybe that you can make with your kids or grandkids. In your kit, you're going to get a piece of cardboard and this pre-printed picture of a bare tree. You can do your own picture if you like, but this one is good to get you started. And the first thing we're going to do is glue it to the cardboard backing. You can use the white glue that you got on your kit if you like, but if you do, make sure you spread it really thin because otherwise it'll leak through the pink paper. I'm just going to take a little glue stick here and go around the edges of the cardboard like that and set my tree and press down firmly. I'm going to give that a few minutes to dry, and I am going to use my time productively while I'm letting that set in place by tearing up tissue paper. You've got a sheet of green tissue paper in your kit. It should be more than enough for this project. You're just going to start tearing some thin strips. You're not going to need too many. It really doesn't matter what size. And we're going to use this to create some pretty springtime grass on the bottom of the picture. You want to overlap them a little bit. That will create a light and shadows sort of effect. If you like, if you've got other colors of tissue paper at home, you could work in some small pieces of yellow to be sunshine, or darker green or blue to be shadows. It's really up to you. We're not going for deep realism here. We're just trying to give sort of the impression of a spring new growing grass. We'll start with that, see if we need some more. And you've got a bottle of glue in your kit. You're going to need a bowl or a cup for mixing, and just squirt into the bottom of your cup. Really, that's probably more than enough. And you want to add about the same amount of water. This is not an exact science. Take your paintbrush. Doesn't have to be a paintbrush. The first time I did this, I used a basting brush. You could use a sponge. You could use your finger if you don't mind getting glue all over it. Anyhow, you want it to be about the consistency of a, watercolor paint. And we're just going to start painting over the tissue paper. It's okay if it wrinkles. It's great if it wrinkles. That gives you a nice bit of texture. The idea is to give it a nice transparent effect, layered. It's a good idea if you have a piece of wax paper or some other tarp underneath what you've got, so you can use that to protect your surfaces. Well, I still got some pinks showing through, so let's put in some more tissue paper here. It'll just glue itself nicely into place on top of that wet paper. Nice uneven effect. Yes, I know we've painted over the trunk. Gone over the trunk. That's okay. We'll take care of that. And anyhow, that gives you the basic idea. Whenever you're happy with it, you're going to set this aside to dry. You want to give it a couple hours to dry. You can see this is one I did earlier. It slops over the edge. That's fine. That's what scissors are for. We're just going to trim this up and make a nice edge. And, if you want, you can leave it like that. But if you want to bring out that tree trunk a bit, I've just got your ordinary blue ink pen. Going to trace it along the lines. I could just color it in, but I think I'll just give it a nice little bit of cross-hatching just to give it a little bit of texture there. Well, that's a tree, but it's springtime, and we want this tree to be in blossom. So what have we got? We got buttons. We got so many buttons. We got about 50 buttons in your kit, all various shades of white, different sizes, different textures. Most of these come from my personal button collection, I'll have you know, because I have been collecting buttons ever since I was a little girl, and I looked at those 2,000 or so white buttons I've managed to accumulate, and I said, what am I going to do with these? So I'm just going to grab me some buttons, start arranging them on the branches. You'll probably want to put the big ones in toward the center. You might want to go through and check and see. Some of these are going to have threads still in them. So I can start to go a little smaller as I get away from the center. Now I'm going to save these little guys for the tips of the trees. I imagine you are not going to use all the buttons in your kit. That's fine. You can toss them into your button box. You never know when you need to mend a shirt. Well, that's enough to get started. Just go ahead and start gluing them in place. Put a little dot of glue on your button. put it in place. Once again, keep the bigger ones towards the center. Try and mix up the different textures and shapes and colors. I mean, in as much as you can mix up different whites. As you get further out on the branches, you might want to be a little more careful to make sure your buttons, your blossoms, are on a particular branch. Don't worry if your button has one of those little knobs on the bottom. Just give it an extra dollop of glue and a little extra time to dry. It'll be fine. You see, as I'm getting towards the tips of the branches, I'm going for the smaller and smaller buttons. Looks like I've got a few of these little guys left. I might want to just sort of try and fill in some of the spaces closer to the trunk. Now you're going to want to give this a good long time to dry, a few hours before you pick it up, because otherwise all your buttons might fall off and you'd have to do it again. If you want to get really fancy, you can vary up the shades of the tissue paper, as I said, or if you've got your own button box, you might want to try it with colored buttons and give you yourself sort of a flowering springtime tree with all the different pastel colors. But that's really all there is to it. And I hope you have fun. Join us again next month for our May Adult Take It, Make It craft, in which we will be making miniature baskets for May Day or Mother's Day.